Welcome back to CNN Newsroom. A new threat from North Korea. That country now saying that it is ready to deploy and mass produce a medium-range ballistic missile.
According to state media, leader Kim Jong-un said the latest test of the missile was perfect. It flew about 500 kilometers Sunday before landing in the sea. That is a shorter range than North Korea's last missile launch about a week ago. CNN is across the region. Let's start with our Paula Hancock's in Seoul, South Korea. So, Paula, 2 missile tests within a week, and now North Korea telling the world it's ready to deploy and mass produce a medium-range ballistic missile. How likely is it that Pyongyang has progressed that far, and how concerned should we be?
Well, Rosemary, we heard just a week ago experts saying that they believed that that particular missile launch was one of the most successful missile launches that North Korea had ever carried out. So clearly there is progress being made. Experts and officials in South Korea and the United States are admitting that there has been significant progress made. The Defense Ministry here in Seoul, the spokesperson just this Monday morning, saying that US and South Korean intelligence shows that North Korea has secured meaningful data for improving the credibility of its missile technology. So they are openly accepting that North Korea is making progress. Now, one interesting part of the missile tests that happened on Sunday is what we're seeing on the front page of the North Korean newspaper, Rodong Shinmun, this Monday morning. They have images, of course, of the North Korean leader looking delighted with scientists and his aides around him and the missile launch, but also images of Earth, which Rodong Shinmun claims were taken from the missile itself as it was going into the atmosphere. Now, this is crucial because the re-entry process is one that up until recently experts did not believe North Korea had the ability to do. Now, this is crucial for a longer range missile, for an intercontinental ballistic missile. They have to be able to re-enter this missile and warhead into the atmosphere. And as far as North Korea is concerned, they are showing the world with these images that they have, or at least are working on that capability.
Let's talk about the reaction in Seoul. So, you know, we've seen that nation in transition, a new president there who has made it clear that he is open to more engagement with North Korea, though this latest missile test, how is it that testing that new leadership there?
Well, that's right. The second since Moon Jae-in, the new president, a liberal president, took power in this country. The official line of the South Korean government from this latest missile launch is it's reckless and irresponsible. But you're right. Moon Jae-in has pledged that he is pro-engagement, he is pro-diplomacy, he is pro-dialogue with North Korea. Of course, it makes it very difficult, though, to see how he is going to be able to counter that with these constant missile launches that we are seeing from North Korea. Even suggestions of dialogue are certainly not slowing Kim Jong-un down in any shape or form.
Right, our Paula Hancock's joining us there from Seoul in South Korea. We will talk with you again next hour. Many thanks.
And now let's get some perspective from 2 other key countries in this North Korean nuclear crisis. China, for one, seen as the key to leveraging stability within the region. David McKenzie live in Beijing. And our Will Ripley in Tokyo with reaction from Japan and unique insight of his own regarding North Korea. Will, we'll start with you regarding Tokyo. First, what has been the response from that nation to this latest provocation?
Condemnation, George, from the highest levels of the Japanese government. We heard today and yesterday after the launch from both the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga saying that Japan will not tolerate this kind of thing. Prime Minister Abe saying that he will bring this up with President Trump at the G7 meeting this week, making North Korea one of the main issues on the agenda there, which, of course, is frankly what North Korea wants. They did this launch just hours before President Trump's major foreign policy speech in Saudi Arabia, and last week we saw them with that very successful missile test just ahead of the Chinese President Xi Jinping's major global economic forum, One Belt, One Road. So clearly North Korea knows that if they launch missiles ahead of major events, people will be talking about them, including world leaders.
Will, given your extensive travels, your extensive reporting throughout North Korea, help our viewers to understand the mindset of the leadership there in North Korea. Just a moment ago, we saw this image of Kim Jong-un with a big smile on his face, watching, overseeing this missile launch. Is there any desire to engage with the rest of the world? And is there an openness to abandoning nuclear weapons as world powers are demanding?
Question number one, there is a desire to engage with the rest of the world on North Korea's own terms. Question number two, no willingness at all has been expressed to me or to anybody else of North Korea being willing to abandon their nuclear and their missile programs. Officials on the ground in Pyongyang, even just as recently as last month, told me repeatedly that their nuclear program and their missile program is not something that is up for negotiation. If you think of the mindset of North Korea, this is a country that for more than 70 years has told its people that they are living under the imminent threat of invasion from hostile forces, the largest of which is the United States, forces that they believe want to topple their socialist system in the country. And the government has really stayed in power and also justified to its citizens the tremendous amount of money they spend on developing these weapons because of this narrative that they're under this imminent threat. And so these weapons they view really as an insurance policy to protect their national sovereignty.
Ripley live for us in Tokyo this hour. Will, thank you for the reporting.
So let's go now to our David McKenzie in Beijing. David, how is China likely to respond to this news from its ally North Korea that it's poised to deploy and mass produce a medium-range ballistic missile? How concerned would China be with this rapid progress, and how much pressure might it choose to apply to Pyongyang over this?
Well, Rosemary, it hasn't been, it's been around 24 hours since the news first came out of this latest missile test in North Korea, and China hasn't said anything. In fact, that is not entirely surprising because in the past, when these missiles have been tested, it kind of is China saying, well, the reaction needs to be appropriate for the action. And in China's view, at least, a medium-range missile test, though would certainly anger the Chinese, they're likely not to rush out a statement very quickly. We're expecting to hear possibly from them in the next hour or so at their regular briefing. But this is not something that they regard in quite the same way as, say, the Japanese and the South Koreans. So there really is a sense that the Chinese want to continue pressure, but to move any sort of increase of pressure on the North Korean regime through the UN Security Council. And I don't think this will merit, in the Chinese eyes, doing that. Rosemary?
And David, what more are we learning about this unique relationship between North Korea and China, and whether Beijing still has the influence over North Korea that it used to enjoy?
Well, Rosemary, certainly most experts believe that that influence has waned over time. And that's not necessarily because of the ties between the two countries economically, because China is still by far the biggest trading partner of its longtime ally, North Korea. But on the diplomatic front and the leadership front, you haven't had any kind of meeting between Kim Jong-un and Chinese top leadership since Kim came into power. And that speaks to the waning and perhaps straining relationship between the two countries. Of course, China has repeatedly said they don't want a North Korea with nuclear weapons and have asked the North Koreans to stop, but that's just been ignored in recent years. Rosemary?
All right, many thanks to our David McKenzie joining us live from Beijing, where it's nearly 2:30 in the afternoon. Expect to get some reaction from China in about an hour from now.
The Democratic People's Republic of Korea has confirmed it test-fired another medium-range ballistic missile. The official DPRK news agency, KCNA, says the nation's top leader, Kim Jong-un, supervised the test firing of Pukguksong-2 on Sunday. Kim reportedly said the Pukguksong-2 is a successful strategic weapon, and this type of missile should be rapidly mass-produced in a serial way to arm the military. Pukguksong-2 medium-range ballistic missiles are capable of striking targets 500 kilometers away. This was the DPRK's second missile test firing within a week. The UN Security Council is to hold an emergency meeting on Tuesday in response to the DPRK's latest ballistic missile test on May the 21st. The meeting was requested by the United States, Japan and South Korea. According to the South Korean and US militaries, the missile travelled around 500 kilometres before landing in the Sea of Japan. This follows a test launch on May the 14th of what was believed to be an intermediate-range Hwasong-12 missile. The DPRK has claimed this type of projectile is capable of carrying a heavy nuclear warhead.